Hello, and welcome to another week of Galome Elevation Talks. My name is Timero Siemwile, also known as who? Your favorite, Galome. And in this week's episode, I will be interviewing Mecca Dreams. She is a financial advisor that just helped me get right on track with my finances. Listen, when I tell you I was recklessly spending and I didn't know where to spend my money and how to make my money grow, goddamn, I didn't even have a life insurance policy because I thought, I can do that later in my old age. But she helped me, she set me down and she helped me go through all the steps of like life insurance, planning and budgeting every month, and just how I can make the most out of my money and build that generational wealth starting now, right? We always think that we always need to start doing it later when we get a job, but the little amount of income that you get, for a lot of us, we can make and start building the foundation of that generational wealth and that money, that success that we're trying to get. So in this episode, we'll touch upon a few things. One being how to deal with your money traumas and actually unlock yourself and unchain yourself from those, how to turn your side hustle into an actual source of income. We also talk about relationships. Is money really important in relationships? And we talk about how Mecca's mindset and my mindset have shifted over time because in the past it was rough, eh? It was rough and those financial conversations were not had. But that in retrospect, in the future, if you don't talk about those conversations from the get-go, can lead to a lot of troubles in the future. So please do stay tuned to hear Mecca talk more about, how you can spend your money and how you can budget so that in 2021, hi man, you are ready to build that generational wealth. You are ready to take the world by storm. You are ready to, be in focus and in tune with your money.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mecca Dreams, and I am just so blessed to be here today speaking to all of you. I am a licensed financial planner here in the Bay Area, California. Oakland, what's up? And I'm going to be talking to you guys today about how to own your financial life. Growing up, I did all the things that a young Black Christian girl should do. I went to high school, got great grades. I went to college, mostly paid for by scholarships and grants. And then I entered corporate America thinking I had made it, right? Thinking that this is what it means to be financially independent, right? Having my own apartment, paying my own bills. Little did I know I was in that never-ending cycle some people call the rat race, also known the 40-40 Club or the American Dream. Now, we call it that specifically because a lot of us are in the same track of working a 9-to-5, 40 hours a week. We'll do that for 40 years of our life. And then we look up in our 60s and 70s and realize we're living off of 40% of the income that we couldn't live off of before. I made a very conscious and intentional decision to escape that rat race and really learn what it means to be financially free on my own terms. What does it mean to live an intentional life? What does it mean to truly be connected with my source, my plans, my goals, my vision, and what I was really put on this earth to do? Fast forward to 2020, December, we're at the end of this year, and I can honestly say I've never been more financially fit. I've never felt more financially free and aligned than I have today. And now I dedicate most of my time to helping other people feel the same amount of grace and inspiration through their financial life. Now, obviously, traditionally in the industry, we don't see a lot of young Black women. We don't see a lot of people of color in general talking about money, talking about finances, specifically through the holistic view as well. So myself and my husband are on a mission to make sure that we can open up these spaces and conversations to make people feel empowered with their money and in tune with what it is that success, living a good life, and having a strong family and financial foundation means to them. We talk a lot about generational wealth in our communities, but how many people are actually showing you how to do that, right? What are the tools and platforms and formulas that you're using in your life to actually get that? Because contrary to popular belief, wealth is not something you just stumble upon, right? Financial literacy and understanding doesn't come after you get wealthy. It comes first. And so today on this talk with Tamelo, I'm going to share with you some of my tips and tricks on how I unblocked my money story, how I understood what my family traumas were around finances to get to this point today. And I'm really, really grateful once again to be here and to share my story. And I can't wait to get into it with you guys.
Hello, Mecca.
Hey, Tamelo.
Thank you so much for that. That was very short, sweet, straight to the point, but also very inspiring to listen to. I honestly think ever since I met you, every time I listen to you talk about money, I'm like, girl, like, girl, yes, that's it right there.
I'm glad. I'm just here to spark some type of joy around money. Man, it can be such a draining conversation sometimes.
And it can actually be very scary, very, very scary, right? But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about Mecca. Like, where did you grow up? What fields have you been into, like that you've dabbled into before you got into, the financial sector? Tell us about yourself.
Great. Yeah, like I said, I kind of grew up just going down this straight and narrow path, right? So my parents, both working class people. My mom has been a nurse for longer than I can remember. She married my stepdad when I was about 2, but my father's also always been in my life. My father was actually LA County Sheriff for most of my life. So he was in, the business of saving people and helping people. And so was my mom. So I just, even though they were in different fields, I always knew like, oh, I want to help people too, like my mom and my dad. And so, I went to private schools, Christian schools, Catholic schools all of my life. And you know how they do there. It's just very much like, Bible, here's the, routine of life. And you just kind of get into the cycle of like, this is just what I'm supposed to do, right? Go to college. Of course, I went to Cal State East Bay here in the Bay Area and Hayward. Moved out here when I was 17 to the Bay. All my family's back in LA and also in Michigan. And I came out here by myself. I'm the only person in my family who lives in the Bay Area. I just wanted to start fresh. I wanted that independence because, again, I went from such a very regimented lifestyle where it was like, church on Sundays, it was school, it was like get your good grades, and although I had a lot of value in it, I was still like, you know what, I'm itching for something new. I'm itching to be independent. So I moved out here, of course, stayed the course, right? Studied psychology at first, realized, not really my thing, but I love to understand people. Human nature is just so interesting to me. Once I realized psychology wasn't it, I moved on to business management and was like, I like business, but not this much. It was just, again, I wasn't in the money mindset that I am now to where I could understand it that much. So I lasted about a month until I switched over and picked up my first camera. That's when I found photography and marketing. And at the time, I think I was around 19, maybe 20 years old. My friend had introduced me to her cousin who was starting up a blog. It was a blog about life in Oakland, right? Like the real, not the one you see on the news where everybody's like shooting each other and dying. Right? Before it was cool. This is like before Kaylani and Kamaya hit the scene. This was like underground sources, and you're seeing people just kind of come from the bottom up, like major producers that we see now on some of our hit songs with some of the people that we were interviewing and talking to about what is their creative process. So it really was our job to have a pulse on the culture of what was happening and kind of be around what was going on out there. So they happened to need a photographer. Neither of them wanted to do it. And they were like, can you do it? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm not doing nothing. I'm just in college. Because again, I was looking for that independence. I was itching for something that I could own and create and to mold. And so we did that for a couple of years, and it was really exciting. I feel like I found a lot of myself just being in Oakland. And the number one thing I realized also very young in age is that people are very creative, but they're very, very broke. Very, very broke.
Yeah.
Very, very broke. But I was
the
like,
broke artist.
yeah, they're broke, but like so like, you know what I mean? Just so passionate and so their soul into their art, but like it's not monetarily paying off.
Yeah, and the arts are not where they're supposed to be or where they should be, really. Yeah,
exactly. Just because of the lack of access and opportunity in the bigger spaces, right? The bigger media spaces. So what we wanted to do was be like, hey, let's keep our leg in corporate and then keep our leg in the creative and then bridge the gap. Right? To create more opportunity for people. Because again, I was all about helping people no matter what it was. And so we did that for a couple of years. It was very cool. But again, I needed to transition because I wanted something else that was going to give me a stronger foundation. So that's when I kind of got into marketing and a little bit of advertising. So I took that understanding of what artists needed and I transferred that into something called Mecca Media, where I was providing photography, video, and social services to up and coming artists, small businesses, and then it generated nonprofits and independent schools because I realized, shit, everybody needs marketing, right?
We all do. Yeah, literally everything. Yeah.
And for those of you guys listening, if you're in college or you're a young person, you're trying to figure out how you can, make a side hustle, look into marketing, right? What does the local marketplace look like in your community, whether you're in the Bay Area, LA, whatever? Everyone, guarantee you, will pay at least a couple $100s for you to run their social media. Sometimes a couple thousand. You have, if you got a little status online, for real, like some of my biggest clients were paying me $10K for one project once I got like it up and running. So there's, a huge marketplace in that area. But
I also think over the years, there've been different sectors that have come up that are very specific, right? Like social media marketing, analytics marketer, like stuff like that is popping up. So you can really do a lot.
And so one of the girls I was working with in the blog still works in social today, and she makes good money. She started from that seed and now it's blown up to a full harvest, and it's beautiful to see. So never think that something you're doing is like, oh, it's just for fun. The number one way to get paid on your passion is just to figure out what would you do for free if no one was hiring you for a check, right? What is that thing? And then turn it into something. Turn it into something.
Come on.
That's exactly what I did. I was like, I have this camera and I'm shooting for free, but I wonder if someone would pay me for this. Let me figure it out, right? What does the marketplace need? And so I did that for a little while. But then again, when working with these small business owners and these nonprofits, I'm still noticing that like, man, there's a huge money problem. It doesn't matter how high up you go. There's still a huge money problem. I ended up working in corporate a little while for a company called Yelp. I don't know if I can even say that name on here live, but I worked for them for a little while. But I realized that even though they were paying us really well in salary and bonuses and all this stuff, every single month, like on the 20th, like clockwork, everyone was already broke. Everyone was already broke. And they're just like waiting for
that's the global struggle. Like we all go through that.
And I'm asking them questions like, okay, like where do you live? And they don't live nowhere fancy. They're just like a renting a room. And I'm like, their lifestyle wasn't anything crazy just because no one was telling them how to properly manage their money. No one was showing them things like retirement planning. No one was like preparing these people, but they were giving us these huge checks and just expecting us to like be all right, but there's no system in place. And so things just kind of started to click. And then my now husband joined the financial services industry, and he was like, this is it. Like, this is what our people need. And he's such like a activist. He's so about the people, so about the community. And it was just really cute. But at the time, I was
love
like,
this.
at the time, I actually wasn't into it. Even though I knew that people needed it, I was like, I think it was a little bit of imposter syndrome, right? Because I'd kind of been staying in the same safe lane for a really long time of marketing and branding and photos. And then he was like, no, just come and work in financial services with me. And I was like, I don't really think I'd be good at that. Even though I knew it was a need, I was like, So he ended up going on the journey for like understanding his money story for about a year before I even touched the industry. And I was like learning from him. He actually helped me to get my money together, set me up for a retirement plan, the whole nine. And I was like super grateful. But I just wasn't ready to take that leap. But I think God knew that this is what I was going to be doing anyways, because as I'm learning from him about things like retirement and generational wealth, legacy building, my parents, like my mom and my stepdad, were preparing for retirement, right? So my stepdad has been working for the government for about 30 years, I'll say. My mom worked in nursing, but her majority role was to be, my mom and to take care of the house. Right? She would work when she kind of wanted to. Very great lifestyle. He took care of her as a man should, but he technically was her retirement plan, if we're being honest. And so when he turned about 70, I learned about this thing called the rule of 70 and a half or something like that the government has. So when you're retiring through traditional government planning, there's a cutoff age to where if you retire too early, like earlier than 59, they're going to penalize you on your money.
What age do they want you to retire at? What?
The hot spot is around 65, 72 now. So they're pushing the other rule back a little bit, right? So there's another rule. If you retire too late, they're going to also penalize you up to 50% of your money. Yeah, on top
of that's very intense.
So I heard that, and I was like in one little training, like I overheard it actually. And I was like, oh my God. And I freaked out and I called them and I was like, have you heard about this rule? And they were like, what are you talking about? We've never heard of that before. His job didn't tell us about that. No, that's crazy. There's no way. And I was like, call the HR department tomorrow. You have to check in. If I'm wrong, cool. But if I'm right, y'all got to retire tomorrow or they're going to take half of his retirement money. And so they laughed. They were like, all right, Mecca, you're getting hyped, but okay, we'll call, whatever. They call and they were like, yeah, he's about 6 months away. What do you want to do? And they were like, I guess we have to retire.
Wow.
To retirement because their company wasn't going to tell them. It's not their job. It's not
that job is just to roll out the policies, because they probably get a cut from it. Just roll it out. You'll deal with it there.
You just deal with it. And so literally, had I not overheard that, my family would be devastated. And I don't take that lightly. You know what I mean? That's not a coincidence for me. So I started taking it a little bit more serious. I got my license. Still wasn't really doing anything with it. But again, fast forward, when life hits, you will either move or God will move you. And God moved me.
One way or the other.
When he knocks, you better open the door, okay? God definitely knocked in, I'll say like February 2020. I had already had plans of leaving my part-time job. I had plans on going full force with Mecca Media. I was working with a couple of small businesses. It was going great. And then COVID-19 hit. And again, the plight of these small businesses is that they're not financially secure. So all of the projects I was relying on to be able to quit my part-time job ended up falling because COVID happened. They don't have clients, which means they can't afford at that time to have a social media manager or a content creator. They had to get scrappy, so they had to scrap me. And so I took that as a sign. I wasn't too hurt because naturally everyone is kind of going through their ish in COVID. So me and my husband sat together and we were like, look, you have this license. He's like, I'm going to the top of this brokerage. I'm not stopping until we get financially free. So
Whew.
what it take for us to just put our heads together?
Girl, where did you get this husband? Because wow. I want to buy one too.
Whole another story. No, he's amazing. He's actually in the other room. But yeah, so I was like, look, lead the way. Just show me what I need to do. Show me how to, talk to clients. Show me more about, what you've been studying. Because again, at that time, I was just doing it passively. I was just like, all right, let me understand my money, da 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 da. And now I'm in like a full-fledged like ownership role where we have a team and I'm training them and I'm getting other people licensed. And I'm like, really, it feels like we're raising the next generation of financial brokers who are all people of color, who are all intentional and diverse. And look, if you're watching this and you're like, sheesh, I need something like that, we're looking for some really great people as well, some ambitious people. So
and I'll leave her link, her details down below. So hit her up.
So it was incredible, the transition, the timing. And now it's just, this is my life. This is my life, helping people to understand their money story and to get them into the right vehicles that they own and they can understand versus being like my stepdad who kind of got a little bit left behind.
Wow. Okay. That was I loved that intro. I just loved it. It was like a storytelling, but you were taking us through it. So you've done so much, right? And you've gotten into this financial space and you understand it a whole lot more. What are some of the bad ideologies and misconceptions you think people have about money?
Okay, that's a good one. I think the biggest misconception people have about money is that like having a job necessarily is going to give you everything that you need in life, right? And I don't think having jobs are bad, not by any means, but I think people right now in 2020 need to get very intentional about having multiple streams of income. Because when we see our parents' generation and the amount of struggle and strife that they're going through, even those at the top of the food chain, right? Because again, I went to private school, so I know people's families who make, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. That wasn't anything new for me. But even then, I'm looking at now and they're still like, oh, we're a little bit unprepared for retirement because they didn't really have anything properly set up outside of their job. Right. So when you let one entity control your income, your outcome, and what you can put food on the table for, you're kind of setting yourself up for a little bit of stress. You really are. So I think people need to get really intentional about having multiple legs working at the same time. I also think people have the misconception, specifically young people, that they have time to save. We got all the time in the world to do all the things. I don't know what needs to be clearer about time is not promised.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed.
People are dropping like flies. People that we didn't expect, close people to us, celebrities, far people, random coworkers. Like tomorrow is not promised. And if you were to go today, what are people going to be saying about you when you leave? What are you leaving? Right? Because there's two things you can leave behind. It's either debt and stress or it's a legacy. There's no in between. I think people need to get really, really intentional about having those conversations with their friend groups or their community and especially their family because nothing is promised. I think, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, this is something that I always say as well. We live a life of hope where you hope that you wake up tomorrow. You have faith that you'll wake up tomorrow, but it's not guaranteed. And, during one of our sessions, you said that the problem is that young people fail to plan.
Yeah.
We fail to plan. And that's why at the age of 50, we're still working and not working towards retirement, right? Yeah. And then you also touched up on, I guess, we'll talk about this once you're done with the few steps, the misconceptions, but you also talked about how some people will, those stories, some of those stories about people retiring at like 28 and being millionaires are true. I want to touch up on that after you finish with the misconceptions.
Absolutely. I got so many stories. So I think another one, like you were saying, is like hope. Now, hope is a great biblical strategy, but it's not a financial one, right? Financial planning.
Love that.
Period. It's all about strategy. You cannot hope your way to success and to wealth. Now, I do think there's also an element of like, okay, I want to manifest what I want. I want to attract. I am money. I am love. Yes, but that's only going to take you so far if you have no foundation and no pot to put that money in once you do attract it. Right? It goes back to what we're going to talk about our money traumas and these ideas and things that we have formulated around our money. Because if we never upgrade our identity, we will never out earn it. So it doesn't matter.
Wait, say that again. You're not just going to drop a jam like that and keep it moving.
I'm just saying you will never out earn your identity. And what that means is for a lot of our families, we don't necessarily come from high levels of wealth, right? Or, there was some, like you said, there was a little bit of pain or strife around talking about money, whether mom was like, all right, we're going in this store and don't touch nothing, or your parents maybe used money as a bartering tool, right? Okay, I yelled at you today, here's this toy, or here's this thing.
As most Black parents do. That's the way of like saying, oh, I'm sorry. Or,
I'm sorry. Here's the Xbox, right? Y'all, that's a financial tool and a trauma that will lead you to how you manage your money today. So you can attract $100,000 or $1 million or whatever, but if you haven't worked on your mindset, if you haven't worked on looking underneath that hood and just figuring out what's going on in that car, you will never be able to keep that. It's going to either just run through your pocket or you're going to figure out a way to lose it subconsciously. So you have to make sure that you're working on your mindset around these things, or else it's just going to be a never-ending cycle.
Wow, I love that. I love that, specifically that last note. That was very beautifully said. Now, in terms of people that graduate, wow, hectic, that retire in their late 20s, you say you see that. I mean, some of those stories are true. Like, I honestly always see these stories and I'm like, y'all just lying. You're lying. You're probably just trying to get me to invest.
You're trying to get into stocks right now.
Exactly. You're trying to get me to get into Forex or something. I don't want that. I don't believe it. Is it true?
Yo, no, it's 100% true. There are so many companies and brokerages and businesses that are 100% legitimate and that people can make an uncapped amount of income. Y'all, you got to start tapping in. Like, network marketing is amazing. Affiliate marketing is amazing, but also just owning a business allows you to make a level of money that you will never have access to in a job. Now, again, I like to preface that I don't think having jobs are bad or are wrong, but I think it's important that you always diversify your income streams. So I have people who actually I work with who are my mentors who can retire right now and they're nowhere near 40 or 50, but because they made smart financial decisions and they mastered money, they're able to do whatever they want financially in their life. They don't have to work. Literally, if they decided not to work a day in their life again, they'll probably still make $300,000-$400,000 a year. Because of the way that they've set up their business. And now this is no like weird pyramid scheming, because that ish is illegal. This is like you legitimately, if you build a business the right way from the bottom up, you can have something so strong that no matter if you leave this earth today or in 50 years, the business will still thrive because of the way you set it up, right? It's all about team. It's all about delegating. It's all about like building something that brings value to people. You have to build something that's recession proof as well, because I talk to a lot of students. I've done a couple of these talks with different colleges around the Bay Area. And the number one thing I'm noticing with, I think it's Gen Z, like after the millennials.
Yeah, it is.
you guys are still kind of in that old model where you think like, oh, I have to get a master's degree or a PhD to thrive in America. Now, if you want to go get your degree like Tamelo, you're super, super smart. I think that's going to be great for you. If you want it and it's genuinely in your spirit, go after it, but don't go after it to get a job. That's so backwards. Again, it's 2020. Jobs are not set up the way that they used to be for our parents.
Yeah, that is so true.
Retirement is not set up the way that it used to be for our parents. We literally are the most informed generation there has ever been, but we're not going to be empowered unless we apply that information, right? So your teachers are only going to teach you how to be an employee. They will never teach you how to be a boss. And being a boss in America is the only way to guarantee your financial security.
Yeah. I mean, most of the successful people are bosses. They're not employees to nobody.
100%.
So that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're so right in talking about how a lot of us have the misconception that you have to get a master's, you have to go to college and all these things.
Yeah.
But slowly I've been seeing that even the big companies are evolving, right? In the types of people that they're hiring. If we're talking about employment, they're not just hiring people with master's degrees and PhDs. They look through what you've done, what you've achieved, even within your personal life, some of the projects that you've done. Yeah, all your work and your achievements, they look through that. So yeah, no, that is actually a great point to bring up, because a lot of us get into debt that is not necessary.
Oh man, isn't it crazy how you'll get into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and then you'll get a job just to pay that debt off?
And you're paying it off for like the next 20, 30 years.
20, 30 years. Yeah. So you actually get to live your life. You never get to live your life. And if 2020 has not showed us anything, okay, it is time to align with your highest self. It is time to figure out, what is my purpose on this world? How can I make a value-based effort to make this world a better place? Right. And that's not always going to be aligned with getting a piece of paper. Sometimes it's just you getting out of your own way and driving home that idea that you've been having. Right. So I think there's, like we like to say, multiple ways to skin a cat. It's a weird analogy for just saying that there's multiple ways to get to your destination. Right. Sometimes that's not going to include getting into $100,000 worth of debt. Sometimes it's going to be, just putting your head down and working hella hard for 5 years so you can retire at 28 and really do what you want to do.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Now, there's also another question that I've heard so much about, and I have my own personal opinions. And it's been a debate, but is money important in a relationship?
Ooh.
Is it important in a relationship? I mean, you got a man that, wants the same kind of financial stability that you want. So that might be a different story. But even prior to that, do you think it's important, or has your ideology on that changed?
Ooh, yeah. So I think for sure my ideology has changed a lot by being in the field, but also by being married now. But I think money is super important in relationships, not meaning like, oh, you have to have millions of dollars already, but we got to have the same goals, right? Because it's one thing for like, when I was 21, 22, it's one thing for us to both be kind of like, working $15 an hour, $16 an hour jobs and being together, but wishing for more and going for more. It's another thing for me to be wishing for more, and then the person that I'm with to not be wanting nothing else than what they got. You know what I mean? So I think it's always go back to mindset. Y'all got to be on the same frequency, because if the dude is working hella hard to, do what he got to do and build a legacy, build a dream, and the woman's like, well, I don't want to do nothing. Equally yoked, right? You're going to fall. I mean, I think they talk about that in the Bible. You got to be equally yoked. You got to be on the same page. You got to be, cut from the same cord, or else it's going to be very, very difficult. I think that's like top 3 things that people get divorced over is money issues. And it's a lack of communication, right? Someone has X, Y, and Z type of spending habits, and the other person is like a hoarder and a saver, which goes back to, where did you grow up with money? What was your mindset about money when your parents were showing you about money, or when they were spending money? You bring all of that shit into a relationship, and then it's your job as a couple to figure out where you're coming from, but also figure out what's your destination. I think that's yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think, a lot of people don't ask these financial questions from the get-go.
Oh
It's
yeah.
conversations that we're scared to talk about from the get-go. We avoid it as much as we can. And then 6-7 months down the line, you realize that you're with someone who cannot handle their finances, who is an overspender, when in actual fact, you could have asked these questions in the get-go, and saved yourself the time if that's a huge thing for you, or try to get through it.
And I think that, because people are so sensitive at times, like they don't want to be seen as a woman, right? If you're on a date with a dude, you don't want to be seen as, I don't want to be checking his pockets. I don't want him to think I'm a gold digger. But there's a way to communicate those things so that way you, sis, get the information that you need to make an educated decision about who you want in your life. And same with the men, right? If you're hardworking, ambitious, and you got a lot going on for yourself, you don't want a woman who's going to be a leech, right? You don't want a woman who is going to always, need, but can't give in any way. And so I think there needs to be way more conversations I think there in general needs to be more dating that happens in general. Because also people aren't really dating. They're just kind of like hooking up. Now and we're jumping in, I love them, and like y'all don't really know people, so like let's get to know people, right? When I was single, I was legitimately getting to know people because I was getting to know myself, and I'm one of those people who I learned a lot about myself through the eyes of other people. I think for some that's a blessing, for some that's a curse. It depends on how you spin it. But I think what made my partner really different was that he's very transparent about where he was, but also where he wanted to go. Like his aspirations were just really, really attractive. And I was like, you know what? I can add to that. Let's do this.
You're also like, this is in line with what I want.
Yeah, it was in alignment with what I wasn't just going to be like, anyone I find, lead me. Like people got to get out of that. You got to figure out what do you want first. And then you can be aligned with the partner who fits in like a puzzle. Right? Yeah, I think it's important. What do you think, though? I'm curious. You said you had.
What do I think? I was about to take us on an ad break, and you said, I thought I'd avoided that.
I want to know really quick.
No, I definitely think the same. Especially post like all my other relationships. It's a conversation that I really avoided, and I'd always wonder, like, where's this person getting all this money? You work as a let's say a bartender, but you have all this money coming in and it's going out the same way as it's coming in.
Oh yeah.
What exactly are your aspirations in life? How rich do you want to be? And I found that looking back, some of the people that I dated were very much like they didn't want to be that rich. They just wanted to be okay. And I'm like, I cannot do that.
Tamela, look, y'all. You probably Tamela is not down.
I am not about to live a mediocre life, be living hand to mouth. No. I want to have money, right? So it really becomes something that's important to me. And it's a conversation that I'm having, even as I'm dating people. It's a conversation I'm having like, where do you see yourself, financially in the next couple of years? How do you spend your money? How are you making money? How are you making, when you talked about multiple streams of income, where is all your money coming from? And how are you diversifying that? So it's become very important. And I think over the past couple of months, even after meeting you, everybody I meet, I'm like, hey, you want to holler at me, but what's your bank account saying?
Now, I did not advise him to say that, y'all.
What's your bank account saying? Hello.
No, but I think people need to have conversations, and there's multiple ways to go about that, without making people feel like, ooh.
Yeah.
But because that, for me, tells me how ambitious are you? Are you a go-getter? Are you action? Are you gonna, like, if I broke my back today and couldn't do anything, like, do you got me? Like, I got you. But I'm one of those people who I'm going to go after. It doesn't matter what it is because I have a mission, right? I have a mission. And mission-minded people tend to want to attract that same, because you don't want nobody who's going to be holding you back. Like, oh no, it's mellow, don't do that interview, it's late. It's, you know what I mean? Like you want somebody who's gonna push you into, you know, to grow. So equally yoked.
Yeah, equally yoked. That's the takeaway from that one. So, on that note, we're going to take a quick ad break and we'll be right back on the flip side of this with Mecca as she continues to give us some everyday tips on how we can start to take the necessary steps to becoming wealthy and building that generational wealth because, girl, my children are not going to suffer. My children don't go suffer. They're not going to lack anything. So, if you want to get some of these financial tips, stay tuned and we'll see you then.
I find privacy in stillness. I find privacy in nature. I'm kind of like a wanderer and a dreamer. I walk through hiking trails. I like to go near water. The place by Wildcat Canyon, I just randomly found it one day. I just like kept walking and walking and I was like, oh, what's this? And I walked down and it's like a full-on like beautiful creek. That's my place. I love that place. When you're in nature, everyone brings their guards down. They're just there to kind of like fall into the trees. For me, that's a very private thing, even though maybe there's other people around. When you stretch yourself too thin and you look back and you're like, damn, when's the last time I just had like 15 minutes to myself? I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice when you don't take that time. Regardless of where you find privacy, it's important for everyone to cultivate that for themselves. I feel like that's a very strong emotion.
So, hi guys, welcome back. You are still tuned in to Galome Elevation Talks with the financial literacy queen, Mecca, and your favorite Galome, myself. So, Mecca, let's talk about insurance. Please, in a nutshell, could you explain what it is and why it's important? I think I didn't know much about insurance until you came along. So I think a lot of people would benefit from that conversation as well. Just a brief talk. And if they want to schedule a one-on-one, her details are up below. You can hit her up.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So insurance is like one of those tools that's like a mystery in a lot of people's communities. When we think just even the word insurance, we think things like health or like, you know, car insurance, we have cell phone insurance, all that type of stuff. But a lot of people don't know that you can also insure your life and your money. So specifically with a little bit of the financial planning that I do, I help people to utilize life insurance as a savings vehicle, right? And this is not a new concept. This has actually been around since the Great Depression era. So there was companies like JCPenney's, Walt Disney, like Disney World, the entire empire, Bank of America, Chase Bank. When the world's economy first crashed, it was like the biggest crash that they've ever had. The stock market was down like negative 29%, I believe. The only institution that was still standing during that time was insurance. Okay. And so I like to take that little historical reference because a lot of the times when people think life insurance, they think, well, I don't want to make nobody rich when I'm dead. First of all, that's a terrible mindset to have. Terrible. Because again, remember what I said earlier, either when you pass away, you're either going to give down debt or wealth. Pick one. There's no in between, right? And so this tool historically since the 1920s has been the easiest wealth builder, specifically in communities of color. Because a lot of us don't come again from those families who are going to teach them how to build a business, who are going to teach them about the stock market, who are going to teach them things about how to flip real estate and make, you know, home hacking a thing and make multiple investments that way. The easiest way that we can do it is getting a small little life insurance policy. If you're in your 20s, you can get like $300,000 of coverage for like 20 something bucks a month, right? And you have
something bucks.
literally 20 something bucks with living benefits, which we'll talk about that later. But it's a really, really great tool to make sure that your family is protected when you're not here, right? Because look, I'm no rocket scientist, but I know that at least if there's 2 people on this call, 2 out of 2 of us are going to pass away one day. Okay. So if we,
I don't know who that is. It might be you. It's not me, girl.
not today, but eventually we all have to leave this earth. Like life is not in this body, right?
Yeah.
Our spirits, of course, are going to live forever because energy never dies; it just multiplies. But this physical body of Mecca, this is the youngest I'll ever be in my life. Like tomorrow, I'll be a day older, and life's going to be different. So I'm going to insure my cell phone and my car and my freaking apartment. Why wouldn't I protect the most important thing to me that keeps all these other things flowing, right? So you got to do that. So that's just one thing, right? But then on the flip side, there's the way that the Rockefellers do it and that JCPenney does it and the Walt Disney, which is cash value insurance. And that's how you make sure that no matter if the market drops, no matter if the tax rate changes by the government, or if anything crazy happens, that your money is protected, right? So I just help people to use insurance as a tax-free retirement strategy or a tax-free wealth building strategy that they can access before they're 59. Because that's the thing about a lot of these traditional plans is that you got to be old before you use it. And that's you, but I'm not trying to retire old. I'm trying to retire young, fabulous, and rich.
Period. Yeah. And so throughout this, you mentioned living benefits. When I think of insurance, I think, honestly, I'm going to say it. I think when I'm dead or before I had the conversation with you, I'm like, when I'm dead or when I'm super duper duper old, right?
Yeah.
Getting in the grave. I'm close to getting in the grave. What are living benefits when it comes to insurance?
Yeah. So I think of living benefits as like income protection, right?
Okay.
So let's say we have 2 people. We have Tommy, who works in tech and makes about 6 figures, and they have life insurance living benefits outside of the work, right? So they own this policy. So a lot of people don't know that when you have life insurance through your job, you don't own it, you're renting it. Your job owns it, which means when you leave that job, you don't keep it. They do, right? So you leave that job, you're completely uninsured. So, and then we have another individual. Let's say this person is Linda. Linda also makes 6 figures. And she maybe has a kid or 2, loves her job, but only has insurance through her job, right? So both of these individuals get in a car together and they get into a car accident, but they both survive, right? Thankfully, life is still happening, but they're both in the hospital. Now, Tommy, because he had life insurance with living benefits, is able to pull a couple of thousands of dollars from that life insurance policy every single month. Right? Because either that job is going to be like, hey, Tommy, you could take a leave of absence, but we're not going to pay you. Or they could be an asshole and be like, hey, we got to replace you because it's been a couple of months. Right?
So that insurance will act as a source of income for Tommy.
Yes, a source of income. It'll also take medical expenses, his hospital bills if necessary, or just making sure that his mortgage gets paid on time. Or that his student loans don't go into deference because he wasn't able to keep up with those payments. Now, Linda only had insurance through her job, no living benefits, because that insurance only works when she dies. So now Linda has to figure out, how am I going to replace my income because I can't work for my job for 3 months? How am I going to pay for these hospital bills because maybe my health insurance didn't make the full coverage that I needed, and maybe I still got to pay a copay? How the heck am I going to feed this kid? Because again, she probably didn't have a savings plan and she didn't have living benefits. She might have had a retirement plan, but again, if she's not 59, she's going to get penalized 10% for even touching that money. So benefits is a way to save your income in case some crazy shit goes down. Okay.
So are there any life insurance policies that will pay you out even though you're not injured or you're not super duper old? Are there ones that you could potentially, let's say if I started a policy now, have access to it when I'm in my early 40s?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of the most popular plans that I'm helping people out with is it's called cash value insurance. So you can put money into it and you get all that money back plus interest. So there's things called index strategy insurance. There's just regular cash value whole life insurance where you just get a guaranteed percentage. And you can use that money way before 59. It's as soon as you have available cash in there, you can basically just borrow that money from your policy. You can decide to pay it back if you want to, but you never have to. So I have a couple of clients who like do what's called a front load, where they put in thousands of dollars in the first couple of years because they plan on buying a house in the next 5 years. And instead of borrowing that money from the bank, where they're going to charge you an interest fee, which means you owe them more money, they're going to borrow that money from their life insurance policy, put a down payment on the house, and then pay into their policy, just like they would into their own like family bank. So it's a really awesome strategy. Again, it's nothing new. I didn't like create this, but I'm definitely someone who is like mastering the skill. And I love sharing this with young people because it's the easiest to start when you're young. And also families who are really thinking about legacy. It could be used for something like a college plan or, like I said, your first home or investment homes, if anyone's interested in those. Multiple different uses. And it's amazing. It's amazing what can be done with those.
And then in terms of saving, would you say that saving like an insurance policy versus a savings account in a bank, which one has higher returns from like your knowledge and experience?
Wow, good question. So let me ask you this. When you put your money in a savings account and you take it out, do you still have money in there? Like if you had $1,000 and you took out all $1,000, you got money in there?
No. Yeah.
So with insurance, your money is always growing. So when you take out money from an insurance policy, technically the money is still in there growing with interest. Always. Always. You're just borrowing the policy. So you're technically borrowing the insurance company's money. And when you put that money back in there, you're growing your fund, AKA your cash value. So your money is always growing with more what's called interest. And it's more beneficial to you because you get more of your dollar. So it's like, would you rather have your dollar work one way or 10 different ways?
Okay, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because I mean, my savings account, I would get like interest rates of like less than 1%.
That's not going to grow. I mean, we also got to think about things like compound interest, right? And I wouldn't say that, cash value insurance is a good fit for everyone. There's some clients that I sit down with and I'm like, nah, not quite for your goals. Let's help you out with something else. I think that people need to really start to consider, like, what are your income goals, right? What's your lifestyle goals? How much do you have to set aside for yourself? Because I would never say that, using insurance is like a quick type of like I know some people who are like into Forex, which I super respect the skill set. That's fast money. That's like, okay, I can like put this in now and then I can like get it back in a couple of hours or a couple of minutes even. And it's very like fast, instant gratification. Where something like insurance, I use for my people who are thinking about their long-term and their future, people who already have some goals set up and who want to kind of create some longevity in their life and are thinking more than just like for the right now.
But also, right, with Forex, like if you're to do Forex, have you met people who use the Forex tool as a way to drive like the policy as well? Because I mean, that's plus cash and then you invest it. That's
that is the most genius thing that I've been finding with the millennial Gen Z culture. Is that a lot of people are kind of finally starting to get these concepts, because insurance is like, that's old money. That's an old system, not like outdated, but it's like, it's ingrained in the American society, where Forex is something like super new, super fresh. We're getting into it. We're learning. And so I have one young lady on my team who is a Forex trader, and she's like, look, they're teaching me how to make money quick. They're teaching me about mindset, all this stuff, but no one's teaching me how to save money. So she came to me after her first couple of months of trading, and she's like, we sat down, looked at her budgeting sheet, we set some goals up for her, and then I helped her set up an insurance account where she can fund, where she can take the Forex money that she's been trading with and then put that into an insurance so it can grow stably. So no matter if, she quits Forex or, quits other stuff, she still has this pot of money working in her favor.
With less risk as well.
With way, yeah. So I think that's another thing about insurance is that it's not risky. It's not like the stock market where you put it in today and then tomorrow you lose it all. It's literally like your banks are investing into insurance. Like, let's get that very clear. So you put your money in the bank for like a less than 1% interest rate, and then your bank takes it to companies that are like on my platforms if I'm an independent agent, and then they're getting 10, 12, 14% on interest stably at an index. And if anyone knows about the index, it's going to help you to capitalize off of the growth of the market without you dropping when the market is losing. So you're riding the highs and not having to attribute lows, right?
Lows,
That too. Right? They have more money in insurance than they do in stocks, bonds, real estate, or anything else. They have billions of dollars in insurance right now, and they have, again, since the Great Depression. So I have some reading materials that I send to my clients when, we're talking to them about them. Maybe it's the first time they've heard this before, so I always back it up with facts. None of this is off the top of the dome. I've just done my reading and my research, and this is what I found works.
Yeah, no, the book that you actually sent me was very informative. I shared it with a few friends of mine, and they loved it. It's also a quick and easy read in terms of understanding money and like insurance. Definitely would recommend. I'll put the link to the book down below, or you might just have to schedule an appointment with Mecca. Then she'll send you the book. I'll think about it.
I got you. Don't worry.
So, Mecca, as we start to close off, what are some tips and steps that I and anyone watching this can take towards saving more and making better financial decisions in 2021?
Ooh, okay, in 2021. First off, I want to if you're watching this, I want to congratulate you for making it this far. Because unfortunately, there was a lot of people who weren't able to reach this level in their life, who literally didn't even wake up this morning. So hug yourself, love yourself for that, and know that if you didn't reach your goals in 2020, if you didn't start anything new in 2020, if you just sat on the couch and watched Netflix in 2020, that's okay. Today is the day. All right. So that's number one. Because I feel like, in the business space, there's very much like you didn't do anything and who are you if you didn't start a new bit? That, right? Be ambitious, but also there was a lot of trauma that a lot of us felt this year, and it's okay to grieve. But all right, okay to get knocked down. It's just not okay to stay down. So now is your time. After this conversation, I want you to take a hard look at what you did right in 2020 and what you want to improve in 2021. So take inventory of your entire life, financial, spiritual, mental, and relationship, right? Connectivity with others. And look at the things that you had that you loved and the things that you didn't like. Because in 2021, all I want you to do is to focus on getting more of the things that you want. Don't think too much of the things that you don't want, the things that you fear, the things that you doubt. Focus and lock in on what you want more of. Practice gratitude. That's number one. Number two, on the financial tip, the number one thing you want to be thinking about in 2021 is how can I live below my means? How can I live below my means? Which means if I get paid $10,000 a month, I'm not living off of $10,000 a month, right? I'm not spending what I make. You have to start living below your means, because what's happening in this world is we're all taking a huge shift. Every single industry is now fine-tooth combing their employees to be able to see who's giving me my biggest return on investment, right? And you have to be thinking of the same things in your life. What are the things that are giving me the biggest return on investment? Do I really need to be spending thousands of dollars on clothes this month when I'm not leaving the house? No. Okay. Do I need to shop at Whole Foods when I know I'm in credit card debt? No. It's time to really start assessing what things are giving you the biggest return on your investment. Live below your means. Number two, if you haven't started saving already, save. Because a lot of people I do know still have jobs, right? They're still relying on one source of income for their bills and their meals to get fed. That's okay. But what happens if that job decides to quit you?
As most people were not prepared for that as well this
No,
year. Anything could happen.
3 million plus people. I'm
Mm.
talking CEOs, I'm talking hedge fund owners, I'm talking lawyers, doctors, nurses, practitioners, artists, all in the same line. Start saving your money. At least 3 months worth of expenses. That should put you in a really solid position, because if they do decide to backtrack and leave you or cut your hours, you at least have 3 months to get it together. That's all. 3 months to get it together. Number 3 is I would find something that is value giving to the industry, right? Something that's recession proof, whether it's a skill or a license or a platform or a brand you're building. You have to find something that's going to be recession proof. And there's a couple of different industries right now who guaranteed are going to be around for the long haul. Number 1 is technology, right? Everything is being built around automation right now, because again, companies are trying to cut back on how they spend their money. So instead of hiring employees, they want to build systems that can do what the employees did. So naturally, if you learn some type of skill, whether that's SEO or coding or engineering, development, whatever the case is, you're going to be set up for success, right? Even if you get laid off from a job, you can hop on Fiverr right now, create you a little profile, and people will start booking you, right? You got to find something that's recession proof. The other industry that's always going to be recession proof is like healthcare, right? People are always going to need some type of wellness. People are always going to need something to heal the body, heal the mind, to get better, right? And there's different aspects in healthcare you can go into, of course. Number 3, of course, is finance. Right? Everyone is always going to need a financial professional or a financial planner. Our business right now has been more lucrative than before quarantine, because when the market is down, we go to work. When the market is up, we go to work. Doesn't matter. You can find you a skill or a business or a brand to work with that specializes in financial services. Not only do you get a world-class education and get your money right, you can help others and get paid for it. Right? Holler at me if you're interested. And then number 4, I would just throw in there is like things like affiliate marketing or influencer marketing. Believe it or not, people are still shopping. People are shopping, and they're always gonna shop, right? And so I have a client who's in that company Monet or Monat, and they do vegan skincare, vegan hair care, all those things. And she's making a killing. And all she does is educate people on the value of having skincare and hair care that's actually good for you and good for the earth, right? So yeah, a bunch of businesses that are going to allow you to be in charge of your own income, be in charge of your own hours and your own clientele. They will teach you how to build a system. They will teach you how to build a business. And for me, I'm a proponent of that, because if I can learn these skills now, if I can teach these skills now, you never know where that's going to help lead off to. Right. So I think people need to get really, really creative, especially if you're in college, right? Internships are not really a thing no more. Right. School isn't even really a thing anymore. Y'all are paying $70,000 to sit on a laptop. Come on now.
Yeah.
It's hard for you. You might as well use skills to bring more value to other people, like you're doing here. So I think it's the era of creativity, and we need to make sure that we're making ourselves indispensable in whatever way possible. That's only going to come from you working from your higher power and working from a place of authenticity and figuring out what are my real gifts, how do I master them, and then how do I protect them and then market them, right? And then from there, your road is endless. So, yeah.
Wow, that was beautifully said. And I loved how you connected everything from the soul, the mind to skills, and how it and how that leads to like the financial freedom and the building that wealth. I absolutely love that. I'm definitely gonna rewatch this episode a couple of times.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mecca, for coming on. You are absolutely amazing. And I think this episode will go a long way in helping a lot of people just kind of start to get their finances together.
Yeah.
Especially now, getting into 2021, I think we're also motivated, we're also driven to have a
Yeah.
better year than this year, right?
Yeah.
Even
Absolutely.
though we don't know what's ahead, we want to be prepared, even especially with our finances, right? So I think this episode was amazing. You are amazing. Thank you for so much for all the tips. And guys, if you want to reach out to Mecca, her details are down below. You can schedule a one-on-one session and be able to get that tea.
Yes.
And different insurance policies going on and just some of your financial advice.
Yes.
I hope that this episode was able to help you elevate your life and
Yes.
elevate your finances. And until next week, from
Woo.
myself and Mecca,
Hey.
bye.
Bye, y'all.